Hello, my name is Avian and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to hide your base in an Anarchy server. So for example, this is my Anarchy server. This is actually a really restricted area. This is only 2000 by 2000 blocks. Therefore, you get a lot of people in a very small located or local area. So one of the big things is you have to know how to hide your base. And hiding your base is actually very difficult, especially when you have so many people going over a certain area in a given time. And obviously we just reset the world, and so there's a lot of resources out here. But most important thing to keep in mind is the fact that anyone can x-ray, anyone can take a look, and there's a village down there. Anyone can take a look at your base, and you've got to know how to hide it really well. So I've installed a pretty standard x-ray texture pack. This is a pretty standard one. It just goes through and allows you to see the ores, but it's also something similar to what people would use for finding bases. So for example, if I was just to, be walking around looking for some bases, I could look underground, of course, obviously x-ray around because this is an Anarchy server, and see, hey, there's some stuff down there, there's some iron, some coal, things like that. But most importantly, you could see a little bit more of if there was a base down there or not. And what I want to teach you guys today how to do is make it almost impossible for hack clients to actually be able to find your base. So as you can see here, a couple things you might want to make sure you notice is the fact that lava shows up in almost every x-ray mod, texture pack, or any other type of modification that kind of allows you to x-ray. Another thing that you may notice is a lot of common hacks will go through and also pick up chests, and they also will point out blocks that are foreign is the right word, or blocks that do not spawn naturally. So therefore, if you were to look around looking for bases, you'd probably see a lot of lava. I don't know how you guys can see that, but you'd see lava, and you'd also be able to see chests, and chests actually sometimes even show up as individual blocks themselves that you can see through the walls in a hack client. So that's what we're going to teach you today, is how to hide and protect yourself from all of that. So for me, I'm going to switch back to my resource pack beforehand. But the big thing to keep in mind is you really want to make sure that you know how to protect your base from that circumstance. You don't want people in your stuff, and most importantly, you definitely do not want an issue with people finding your stuff. So this is the Anarchy server. If you're interested in playing, there's of course a link in the description. It's a really fun, difficult challenge, and by far I think it's one of the most hardest Anarchy challenges out there. But for today's video, we're just going to hop on a pre-made world that I have. So what I'm going to teach you today is the art of hiding your base. And so I'm going to go into spectator mode, and we're going to find a good location to build a base. So first off, we want to look for lava pools. Now, lava pools are especially important because it hides a lot of things. Especially when x-ray and you're x-raying around, you see a lava pool, you're not going to go near it. And most importantly, after that, you definitely aren't going to want to go through and investigate it. You're not even going to second think it. You're just going to see a lava pool, and therefore you're not really going to do anything. So there's two things that x-ray hack clients picked up on, or x-ray texture packs, is they pick up on airspaces or spaces that have, I guess, been mined out. So if you were to fly around and I had just built I don't know, a mine shaft or something, you'd obviously see that here's one that I actually built. You would obviously see that someone built this, and you'd be like, okay, so this is clearly man-made, and if there was a path directly down to a lava pool, someone could say, that looks like a path down to a lava pool, and therefore I should investigate. But more importantly, what you want to do is either block up that path with some type of I don't know, blocks or something. Maybe, for example, you block it up with cobblestone. Stone is also a good one because stone doesn't even register as unnatural. It just basically will kind of hide your base altogether. Another tip that I would use to get down to a lava pool is, of course, have like a nice cave system that has a pretty simple, easy way to get down to it, but also not too easy that if someone's curious slightly about it, that they have a really quick, easy way down to your base. So here's what the two things I'm going to recommend. First off, find yourself a good location with a lot of lava. Now, since you have x-ray texture pack, you should be able to, work your way around it pretty good. This would be a good area, but the other downside about this, though, is you run into a lot of issues where, of course, people can easily see your stuff if it's not hidden well. So you really need to make sure you find a good lava pool, but you also don't be a super big one or one that you're going to have issues with because you don't want to be dying in lava. That's the bad thing. So for here, I kind of like this location. Not only is the caves well hidden, but more importantly, there's a lot of lava down here. Now, for me, though, I like a nice lava pool that's got some space underneath it, and this really doesn't satisfy a flat lava pool with space underneath it. So we're going to look around some more to find a relatively big lava pool. that's got some space under it. So we've got a little bit of space here. Honestly, still would consider that we might need to get a bigger one. So really, you got to find yourself a good spot. That I would stay away from ravines as well, because those tend to attract a little bit of attention for people mining. And obviously, when you're super close, then of course you're going to run into issues as well. So here looks like a nice, decent area actually, and this is of course down at bedrock, so that kind of defeats the purpose. But you want to kind of look around, and this is a lot of lava here. Actually, quite a good bit. But we really need something that's flat and a lot of it. Because you really want to have enough room between you and the bedrock that it's, of course, something you can build in, but also not enough room that people that may be mining at, I don't know, bedrock level, not really bedrock level, but mining at what 14 or 12 is what people usually mine at for diamonds, are going to come across that, especially when you're x-raying and, of course, using hacks. So for me, I'm just going to kind of keep looking around here real quick, and we'll find a nice little area to build a base. So I know I said that you should stay away from ravines and all, but this is definitely a large lava pool, and to be honest with you guys, I don't think it's something that you should pass up. Not to mention, it's got a few diamonds near it. Actually, it's got one. How many diamonds we got? We got a set over here, a set over here, and we got a set over here. So this is a pretty nice location. So for example, if I were to go through and build here, this would be a great place to leave the lava. Do not make it obsidian, because people will be a little bit curious. But that way, if someone does go mining through it, they'll put probably water down, get a bunch of obsidian, and you'll have a lot of space underneath it. So for me, if I were to go through and make this, I don't know what's the right word, X-ray proof, or I guess X-ray resistant, we're gonna go back to creative real quick, just so I can make this quite easily. The first thing I would most likely do is kind of carve this out naturally so that we can complete a full bit of lava underneath this. What I'm going for here is I want enough room that lava definitely seems as if there's enough that obsidian won't cover it up, because if someone does pour water on this and there is obsidian, then you can see through it quite easily. So we want to make sure that we have enough space all on down here, that there is, of course, plenty of lava. So I'm going to go real quick grab some lava real quick and just kind of fill this up. You can take this from wherever you're grabbing it from. I don't know, you can take it from another lava pool, something along those lines. But you basically just want to make sure it's all filled up. And I might grab some more stone real quick, and just so I can make a little platform to make it look good. Because honestly, we really just don't want. It's really got to be perfect, because if someone says something or questions something, then it's not perfect enough. So just make sure that your lava is still. All the lava really has to be still, and then therefore you should be safe. So I'm just gonna finish that lava up. There we go. So now the lava pool is still, but when you switch back to your X-ray texture pack, you can basically not see through it. And even if someone were to go over with obsidian, you have a layer of lava in between there. So that's kind of what we're focusing on. I don't know how you can do this. Let's go back to spectator. Let's go back to spectator mode so you can see this a little bit better. But therefore, you have that layer of lava that kind of allows you to build underneath it and still have some room. So we've also got a kind of a tight area of space, but the best part is now that if you were to go above this, you could probably fill this in and have a quite large lava pool. I'm going to go back to creative real quick, switch my texture pack. Okay, so there we are, and I might just go through and finish this up a little bit more by making a super big lava pool, but that way it looks super natural as well, and there are no questions asked. This pretty much means that you have a lot of space to build, especially when it's hidden. It's really nice to have a lot of space, and honestly, it's almost invaluable if you have enough room to go through and actually end up using all the space that you're given. And trust me, if you can really take full advantage of a big lava pool, by all means go for it. But see, as you can see now, this doesn't look too questionable. If you were just to be going through here mining, you really wouldn't question it. You might put some water down and you'd be all good. So switch back to spectator mode. Now that we've got a good surface area, as you can see, if I were to look at this, it definitely looks like a big lava pool. There are no questions asked whatsoever. So now you want to find yourself at the center of this lava pool, which is like this area right here. And we're going to switch to creative. And we are going to start by mining this place out a little bit. So the thing to keep in mind is, obviously you're under a lava pool, so I would not recommend doing too much along the lines of, I don't know, ending up with a little bit of base. But if you can build down as much as possible, I would recommend pretty much following bedrock, because that's going to be your best bet. And let me light this up real quick as well. I'm thinking, what do we want to do? Let's do some glowstone, perhaps. I need to start searching things, because they've chained this around since the since beta. Okay, so you've actually got a little bit of space. So for example, I'm going to put this glowstone up here, but you can pretty much mine yourself all the way through here, and of course while avoiding the lava, because that's not what we're trying to do here. But the other thing to keep in mind is make your base relatively small. And that was bedrock, and I'm not trying to break bedrock. Make this all survival, guys. Also keep in mind that you want to kind of stick a lot of room down here so you can put as many chests as possible. The next thing I'm going to also recommend is be careful about where you decide to put your chests. Chests are like almost beacons. If you have any experience with an X-ray client, you'll know that it's almost impossible to hide a chest because chests show up, and especially when you put a lot of chests together, questions get asked. So for dispensers are my personal favorite. Now you can use droppers. Dispensers actually end up being cheaper, or droppers end up being cheaper, but I've used droppers before. They are by far my favorite because once you decide to put them directly above the lava, you want to put them kind of as close as possible. Therefore, you end up with a very difficult object to spot. It's almost impossible to actually see the droppers from above, especially when you put on an X-ray client. It gets quite difficult, especially when it's right underneath the lava. Now, if someone's mining directly into it, you really can't help it. If someone accidentally mines right into your base, as I said, you really can't. That's not something that's going to happen in almost every circumstance, but that's really the only way that you can physically know where this is. And that's the best thing about this, is it hides your stuff quite well. Obviously, you have less storage space simply just because it's more difficult to, of course, fill stuff up in a dropper. But if you get shulker boxes, it's almost ingenious. Now, the other thing I'd recommend is do not, and I say this lightly, do not light up anything around here. You want this almost pitch dark, because the thing is, when you switch back to spectator mode, you clearly see that there's a box. Also try to make it irregular, but when you go through and you're mining now, you have almost a box underneath this. And the best part about this is you want to make sure that you stick as close to as possible the top of the lava surface, or the bottom of the lava surface, because as you can see, this looks a little weird. If you were to be mining around looking for diamonds and you're like, that looks weird, a weird box. Also, as you can see this quite through the side, so you might want to also put some stone around it, or be careful not to directly build into the lava pool. Also be careful what you put your cobblestone. But that is really only circumstances that would happen if you were directly next to us, directly mining next to this. Now, obviously, in normal circumstances, in normal Anarchy servers, you would not run into this issue. But where in places you're like in my 2x2k Anarchy server, that may actually be a much larger issue than you'd expect, because people are mining almost everywhere. So for lava pools, I would recommend, of course, switching back to creative and trying to put stone all the way up here as well. You really want to make sure that you hide everything and try to build it literally as close as possible. Now, obviously, you need to get in and out, so I would recommend knowing exactly where and when to get out. Also, let me real quick put some stone here. And I simply cannot see this, but point of the story is switch back to spectator. So that way it's kind of well hidden, and you're really not going to run into issues with someone mining by and seeing it. So as you can see, that's almost impossible to spot. That is quite difficult to find, and even if you were to find this, you'd have to almost be on top of it. And honestly, I can't imagine anyone mining, anyone looking around here. You probably have enough room down there to hide a good bit of stuff if you were to make this a little bit larger, but you have almost literally no area that you could physically see this. And even if you were to be up on the surface looking down, you don't see anything. And if I were to switch on the X-ray texture pack and I were to be walking on the surface, switch back to the X-ray texture pack, and if I were on the surface and I were looking around and I was curious about the location of a base down there, you don't even see it. You don't even, well, obviously with a better texture pack and a better circumstance, I'm sure you would. But even if you were to directly be down here, there is no way whatsoever that you are getting a glimpse of anything inside. And even if you were X-raying from a bit away, I couldn't imagine that actually being a problem. And even so, even though the droppers do show up, you'd have to literally be underneath the lava pool to see them. And by that point, they probably already have some whiff of you being there and probably already looking for you, and that's pretty close. So by all means, that base is almost impossible to see, and therefore this is the method that I use for almost all my bases on extreme Anarchy servers. So here's where this comes into play, and I probably should switch texture packs, is when places, for example, that you have Anarchy that is such a confined area that people are very frequently mining near you, and you need a good place to build your base. This is ideal because it makes it almost completely perfect to go through and find a good area. So back to what I was saying. Resource packs. You definitely want to be on the lookout for that. You basically just want to be on the lookout for a wonderful spot to build your base and look for mining. So this is the wonderful Anarchy server of 2K by 2K blocks, and this is our chunk Anarchy server as we call it. And if you're interested in joining and putting yourself up to a really big challenge, I'd recommend taking a look and seeing if that's something you can possibly do. But if you're interested for Anarchy, go for it. If you're interested for a real challenge, by all means hop on. And if not, hope you have wonderful experiences with hiding your base in an extremely well-trafficked area. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.